Liverpool played not one, but two games against Athletic Club at Anfield today. First one at 5 o'clock and the second one at 8 p.m. Two completely different teams. I'm going to give you a review for both games, sharing my thoughts on individual performances and slots, tactics and strategies going forward. It was very clear that game one was meant to be pretty much the B team for both Liverpool and Athletic Club. For Liverpool, the only real first team starter was McAllister. In the second game, it was the real hitters. Why McAllister was picked for the first one, we'll get into that a little bit later. Nyoni played the whole first half and quite a bit of the second half in centre-back alongside Robertson. I have said many times that putting midfielders and fullbacks into the centre-back spot, they usually don't have the height, they don't have the physical presence, they don't have the special kind of awareness needed for that centre-back role. However, Nyoni looked composed most of the time. There were a couple of times where he tried to pass out from the back and he got caught a couple of times. So his decision-making around risk and reward when playing in the centre-back role is a bit off. That will get better with experience. But actually, I don't want to see him playing in centre-back too much. I think he's brilliant in a number 6 or even a number 8 role. He has great tackling ability and good awareness, and he's very press resistant. He doesn't have that awareness for a centre-back role, though, and all his other promising abilities, amazing passing, tight space dribbling, getting forward, volleys in the box, which we saw in the last friendly, all that's taken away if you play him too deep. There was one bit of excellent defensive work from him when he cut out a poor low cross, and that did show some good awareness and was crucial, otherwise it would have been a certain goal. But he only did that because he was the only player back for Liverpool with 2 Athletic Club players charging down. Where were the rest of our players? And this has been a growing theme in our pre-season. We're getting caught in a counter-attack too often. That needs to stop. Let's get straight into Ngumoha. We know he's lighting up every Liverpool fan's heart at the moment. We may have our new wonder kid bursting through. We haven't really had one like that since Owen and Gerrard. And this player is special. He really is special. He lost a bit of steam in the second half before being substituted, but at first half, he lit up Anfield. He was electric, dynamic, direct. He was bursting with ambition and drive and confidence. And that goal that he scored at 1 minute 30 in the game, where he picked the ball up from the halfway line after McAllister tackled and got the ball back, a loose ball, and Ngumoha charges onto it, drives it up half the pitch, and then right on the edge of the penalty area unleashes a low-driven shot with just enough curve and just the right angle to beat the goalie. I think you'd see a lot more of that. I think he's a very special talent. And every time he touched the ball, the crowd were excited. Every little bit of dribble, every time his feet just started to move, the crowd would ooh and ah. And the only time he lost the ball, when he had control, not when he's racing onto it or trying to knock it past someone, when it's glued to his feet, the only time he lost it was when they put 3 defenders around him and just crowded him out. If that's what you need to do to stop Ngumoha, that will free up space for all our other attackers every time Ngumoha's on the pitch. And you can see why Chelsea was so angry when they lost Ngumoha to us at the last second. They were all set to sign him, and Liverpool came in and swooped and took him away from Chelsea, who were picking up every young player under the sun. And we may have got the best one. They may have missed out on the best young talent in England at the moment, and we've got him. Now, the question is, do we bury him in the under-21s? Do we just give him a few cup games in the early rounds of the FA Cup and League Cup? No, I think he should be playing regularly in the Premier League. Not starting. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Gakpo starts on the left. I'm saying Ngumoha comes in 70th minute, takes the last 20 minutes of every game or most games and really gets embedded into the team. Don't hold a talent like that back. They didn't hold Yamal back at Barcelona, and look what happened. Look what happened. He proved himself to be very consistent. He became one of the biggest talents in world football. And you know you have a special attacking player on your hands at Barcelona. Let's give Ngumoha a chance to become our Yamal. And he won't get that chance if you wrap him up with cotton wool too much. Give him a chance to show he is as good as we all hope he is. On to McAllister. Yeah, he won the ball back for Ngumoha's goal early on. He put in a lot of tackles. You know, he's relentless. He's harassing. He sees the play. He reads it and he gets into the right spot just to nick the ball off a midfielder of the opposition. And then he sets things up really well. He's also tidy. He's so press resistant. You know, players have to grab his shirt and just be really aggressive with him. And still he's able to twist and turn and push them off and elbow them. He's very press resistant. And alongside Curtis Jones, who is also incredibly press resistant, there's one point where his whole arm was being pulled by one of the opposition players and he still managed to turn them. He always gets his body in between player and ball and gives himself time to lay it off. And alongside that, Jones got forward several times and he sees things that not everyone sees. There was a moment for Jones where he's got the ball from the right side of the attack and all eyes are on that left side. Is he going to cross it? Is he going to through ball? What's he going to do? He played a reverse through ball back to Doak, who now was by the byline. The only knock I have on Jones is sometimes he falls in love with his press resistant ability and short, sharp little tiki-taka passes that he can play and overplays it. Sometimes he lacks the cutting edge. He doesn't always find that killer ball or find the opportunity to move into a spot and take a shot himself, and his finishing isn't what we'd like it to be. If he can get a bit more killer instinct and cutting edge into his game, alongside that tiki-taka, press resistance, tidy, neat midfielder, I think he could be a real handful. And Elliott is in that kind of mold with Jones and McAllister, where he's very tidy. He often picks the right passes. He's very good at short, sharp little passes. He did work his socks off. He's just not as good in the tackle as Jones or McAllister is. And he's lightweight. He gets bullied off the ball a bit too easily sometimes. I think he's on his way out, but that performance and the work rate he put in is going to stand him in good stead. It's going to attract a lot of other teams who would love to have an Elliott in their team. Stevenson, so far in pre-season, especially when he plays in centre-back, I said, look, he's too little, too weak in the tackle to be crucial to our defence. He played on the right-back role today, and he actually cut out a few crosses, a few through balls. He did quite well in reading the play, but he did make one mistake. And his mistake was after providing a last-ditch tackle, after rescuing a mistake from McAllister and tidying up the ball in the penalty area, there was a moment where the ball came and he wanted to head it out of the penalty area. Came in for a cross and he sort of bent his head and tried to head the ball with a bit of power out. He timed it all wrong and he was under the ball a bit too much because he's not the tallest player. And it sort of skimmed off his head right to an Athletic Club player's head and for an easy goal. Nunez had that well-composed finish from a Ngumoha head down. The ball came over the top. Ngumoha headed it down and he volleyed it or half-volleyed it past the goalie. Nice and smooth, nice and calm, showcasing an increased amount of composure so far this pre-season. I speculated that might be because he knows he's on his way out. A lot of the pressure to impress has been taken off his shoulders. And I think that pressure caused a lot of his rushed shots, his nervous swings at the ball, and he's able to play a bit more within himself, which actually is allowing him to perform better. Now I have this comment about what Nunez was doing in the game, and I don't think it's Nunez necessarily. I think it's Slot asking this of his number nines, because we saw that with Hugo Ekitike as well. They're not quite playing just as a false nine, where they're just a little bit deeper. They're all over the place. And Nunez several times went out to the wings. He came back deep. There was one time when Elliott was up front, chasing down, trying to press the defenders. And Nunez was not even in the number 10. He was in the number 8 role. and he wasn't busting a lung to get up front. Is this slot saying to his number 9, move around, because then the defenders don't know who they're marking. It opens up space for other runners from midfield, Elliott in that case, or from the wings cutting inside to take up that spot, and then confuses the opposition. But I would like our number 9 to spend more time in the number 9 spot, because there were plenty of attacks when Nunez was nowhere to be found to get on the end and finish them. I know he's not the best finisher, but if you say Hugo Ekitike might be a better finisher, or if we get Isak in, you don't want him outside of the penalty area when the ball is being crossed in or laid off in the penalty area. You want him right there, able to finish it. Listen, we may be sleeping on Ben Doak with all the excitement of Ngumoha. Ben Doak is very similar on that right wing, and he's been producing just as much as Ngumoha, really. He's been involved with assists. He's been involved with goals now. He gets the ball from that right wing, very old-fashioned. He dribbles, wiggles around, races to the byline, gets past the defender, cuts it in. His end product with crosses weren't very good. There were several that were going to no one because he had his head down as he's crossing the ball. He didn't even look up. If he can add that to his game, giving himself just a fraction of a second to look up before he hits the ball and make sure he's actually aiming at someone rather than just aiming for a space that may not be filled, I think we can get more end product out of him. And I think he could be a viable right winger to play for us when Salah goes to the African Cup. No one ever subs on for Salah. He always plays the full 90. But cup games, when Salah is around, I think Doak's a viable alternative on that right wing, even though Frimpong has kind of emerged as an option there too. It'd be good to keep Doak for that reason, in my opinion. He did have a powerful shot that tested the goalkeeper, and then just 30 seconds later, he found himself on that inside channel, quick change of pace, dribbled past 2 players and shot. Now, he was lucky. The goalie pretty much turned the ball into his own net. I don't think it would have been a goal otherwise, but he still had to make that happen. He had to create his own luck, and that was from his determination to get into a goal-scoring opportunity. So my final thoughts on the first game, we're going to talk about the second game in a moment. Our lack of height and physical presence across the team, it was a very short team, meant that on defensive crosses, we were vulnerable and fragile. And on attacking crosses, we didn't really provide much threat. Ngumoha must not be held back. Give him the chance to burst into this world and become Liverpool's Lamine Yamal. We were caught too easily on the counter. It's been a running theme in pre-season. Let's make sure we cut that out before the Prem starts. And wing play is very exciting with Ngumoha and Doak, but also with other players there, as we saw in the second half. I'm loving this aspect of Slot fine-tuning his strategies and tactics, in that we seem to be very much willing to provide energy and speed on the wing, get into the byline and pass it into the center of the penalty area, or cut in and take a shot. I love that style of play, and we seem to be leaning more heavily into that now than last season. And finally, I got the feeling from the way Elliott was walking around on the pitch at Anfield longer than anyone else. He was the last person to leave the pitch, giving the crowd a round of applause with a solemn look on his face, that this may be his last game at Anfield. I've really loved watching Elliott. I've loved him being at the club. Now might be the time to go. And I just got a real feeling from his facial expression and his body language that this may be his last game there. So after winning 4-1 from our first game against Athletic Club, with mostly our second string 11 apart from McAllister, we then played a very strong first 11 in the second game. We didn't have Virgil van Dijk. Endo covered for him. But other than that, we have what you might consider the first 11 that could start the first game of the Prem, or at least the Community Shield. We had Endo, Kerkez, Frimpong, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Salah, Wirtz, Ekitike, Cody Gakpo, it was a very, very, very strong team. We won 3-2, but we could have easily have won 4-0. And here are my thoughts on all the individual performances and the tactics that were deployed. So we've been speculating about where Wirtz might be playing in this new Liverpool setup. Would he be playing in that Szoboszlai role, a kind of 8/10 role on the slight right side of the midfield? Would he be playing as a false 9 with Salah and Gakpo either side of him? Well, today we saw Ekitike playing as a false 9 but just behind him Wirtz playing as a 10, which meant there was a lot of reversing of roles where Wirtz would move into a false 9 position, Ekitike would drop deeper into a 10. We also had times where Ekitike would go out to the left wing and Gakpo would come inside. A lot of changing of positions, apart from Salah, who just locks down that right inside forward position. You don't move him from there. You don't ask him to adapt and play different positions. That's where he is. He might drift a little bit more to the sidelines. He might drift a little bit more into that inside channel, but he's there and you know how to find him very quickly and he knows how to play that role perfectly. So you don't mess with that. But the other three, Ekitike, Gakpo, Wirtz, there was a lot more interplay, interchanging of positions there, a lot more fluid, which Salah was still able to pick them out with so many passes. I'll get onto that in a minute. But I want to talk about Wirtz's abilities. Now, we know by now he has a great eye for a pass, great vision. He is very good with the ball at his feet. He can dribble around in tight spaces. The thing that's impressed me the most that I didn't know, I couldn't quite tell from compilations, he times his runs into the box perfectly. He sees the play unfolding around him and he times his runs, slowing down or speeding up as necessarily. So he arrives on the scene to take the through ball, the cross, the low cross, the high cross, the pass at the exact second that it's needed to give himself a chance of scoring. It's a rare ability. Someone like a Frank Lampard was known worldwide for having that and being one of the best in the world of doing that. Wirtz has that. If we have our own Frank Lampard, we're very lucky. And he also delivers a mean corner. He was on corner duty from the right-hand side. His corners had so much whip and curve in them. It's very difficult to defend that. And I can imagine Van Dijk will have a field day. He will feast on those corners throughout the whole of the season. Back to Salah. Amazing balls, amazing passes. There was one peach where he tricked the whole of the Athletic Club defence, thinking he was either going to shoot or put the ball up in the air, when he played a through ball to Gakpo, who then picked it up towards the byline on the left of the goal, where Gakpo could open his body up and try and curl it into the far post. It didn't go in, but the ball was an absolute peach. And then 30 seconds later, Ekitike found his way to the byline, cut it back, quite a long cut back. Salah controlled it. Everyone's expecting him to do a finesse looping shot into the far corner. He puts it in the near corner, calmly, under control. That's just what the guy does. He scores goals, but it's not the only thing he does. He reads the play and sees opportunities for assists greater than anyone else in that team. He doesn't get enough credit for his vision and his footballing IQ because everyone sees him as a finisher. There's a reason why he gets so many assists. And you have to think how many of those passes went to Nunez over the last couple of seasons. He'd have even more assists if Nunez was a better finisher. Yeah, he skied his penalty. He got a penalty late in the second half. Absolutely skied it. You know what? It's cool. Get your worst penalty howler out the way in pre-season. That's when you want to mess up. And I'm sure he'll be fine once the season gets going. Ekitike did well for such a big man. He's got great feet. I know it's a cliche, great feet for a big man, but he really does have it. He's tall, but he looks a little bit like Thierry Henry when he plays. I'm not saying he's in the same realm as Thierry Henry, who's a special player, but his body moves in a similar way, and he's able to keep close control even with those long legs of his. And he did a few really dangerous dribbles into the penalty box. And of course, the one where he did the long cut back to Salah led to a goal. I'm getting quite impressed with Ekitike. What about you? But similar to what I was saying about Nunez in the first game, Ekitike never stayed in that number 9 position. So I have to assume it's instructions from Slot. He doesn't want that number 9 to be staying centrally, because Ekitike came deep. He drifted out to the left. He never really drifted out to the right because you don't want to try and take any space from Salah. But he was moving around a lot. It's more like a roaming number 9. It's not even a false number 9 because it wasn't just dropping a little bit deeper. He was dropping quite deep, or he was going quite wide. I guess that made him very difficult to pick up for the defence. Gakpo did brilliant. He got 2 goals. He provided a few dangerous crosses into the box. He dribbled well. He did a few twists and turns that tricked the defenders trying to mark him. There's that goal in the second half where he gets the ball, turns them one way, turns them a second way. He got lucky with a bit of a bounce off the defender's knee and then lands perfectly, but he still had a tough angle and he had to shoot hard. Went through the goalie. Once again, the goalie could have saved that and done better, but he had to make that opportunity for himself, and he did. He earned himself fouls on the edge of the box, and he was very quick to react from a spill from Simon, who didn't have the best of games really in goal, for his first goal, which is a nice, easy tap-in. Gravenberch shot hard and low. The goalie spilled it, and Gakpo collected and said, "Thank you very much." His second goal was the one that took a bit more work, and yet he still had a bit of fortune in that as well. On to Szoboszlai. We already know this about him. He's a workhorse. He's just endless energy. He runs and runs and runs for the team. He's a manager's dream because he's everywhere on the pitch. And he did that again today. And you're like, on the 90th minute in pre-season, when they're not fully up to speed, he was the only one that just kept going the whole time. And interestingly, is that why McAllister played in the first game with the rest of the fringe players? I think a lot of people, myself included, speculated that Wirtz's arrival would mean Szoboszlai would be the one to suffer the most in terms of getting minutes. Now, I know they're all going to play a part in the season. We've got so many games in Champions League, the Prem, the FA Cup, the League Cup, but there will still be a preferred 3 in and around that midfield. You have to think Gravenberch in the number 6 is kind of locked down. He was all of last season. You have to think spending so much money on Wirtz that he's going to lock down that number 10. So it's really between Szoboszlai and McAllister who take that third midfield spot. And in this particular game, Slot went with Szoboszlai. Is that because you need that work rate going up and down? Because you've got Gravenberch locked in at number 6, deeper, even though he did make some runs forward and he did definitely participate in attack. And you have Wirtz, who's much higher up. You need someone who can shuttle between the two. And is Szoboszlai better for this system than McAllister is? I really thought it'd be Szoboszlai who would suffer and McAllister would play more. We'll have to watch and see how the games play out, how the season plays out. It's going to be fascinating for me to see who gets more game time in the 3 midfield positions out of our 4 players. But as I say, Szoboszlai, tons of energy, is very, very physical, very powerful. He made so many tackles, and even when he wasn't able to win the ball back, just his physical presence, harassing, bullying, pulling, tugging the opposition, disrupted their attack. And that's a crucial part of our game plan, I think. And the crowd loved a nutmeg that he played when under pressure in the second half. Gravenberch is exactly as we're used to, marshalling the midfield from the base, shielding the defence, being press resistant, able to dribble his way out of any tight situations, put in some strong tackles. What he added that we don't usually see is he had a couple of fiery shots, one which was spilled, allowing Gakpo to tap in, the other one which was saved. I'd like to see more of that, shooting from outside of the box. And then there was a couple of mazy runs across the box, laying things off, causing a bit of chaos. It's good to see. Mamardashvili, I can't really blame him for either of the goals, to be honest. I'm not sure Alisson would have done better with them. The second one especially, It was a deflection off Gakpo. The Athletic Bilbao player headed it into Gakpo's head, took a big deflection, leaving Mama completely rooted to the spot. But later on, Mamardashvili did pull out 2 fantastic saves. One from a curling shot just from the edge of the penalty area, and another where he had to race out and close the space for a one-on-one. He did both brilliantly. He could have been Alisson. They were great. And I just want to talk about Endo. He was nice and tidy. He's not a central defender, but every time he played there last season, he did well. He did well again today. He looked in control. He's not the biggest player, but he was able to read it very well. He definitely has that awareness that you need for that position. He does have it. So he can fill in central defence when needed. I still think we need to bring 1 or 2 in. However, he made one run into the penalty area where he got bundled over and got a penalty for Salah to sky it. And there was a lovely moment where he provided 4 tackles, one after another. Every time the ball kept falling back to the opposition player. But 4 tackles within 2 seconds. The 4th one was a foul and play got stopped. But that relentless tenacity is one of the things that we love about Endo, despite him not getting as many minutes as he or I would have liked last season. It's good he's with us, right? Just love the guy. And my final thoughts on game 2. We dominated early, apart from a couple of spells for Athletic Club. They weren't really threatening too much. We looked assured. We looked in control. We were dynamic. We had excellent pace and energy and impetus going down the wings. We had good movement up front. We were secure and fighting for every ball in midfield. We could have won this 4-0 and it wouldn't have flattered us. But the 2 goals that we conceded were from a lack of concentration. We need to cut that out. All right, thanks if you're still watching at this time. I hope you enjoyed some of my thoughts and reactions to individual performances and the tactics we were playing in both games. Let me know your opinion. Did you watch the match and matches? And what did you think of how we played? Any players that stood out for you? For me, Ngumoha in the first game was a shining light. In the second game, take your pick between Salah, Cody Gakpo, Szoboszlai. I think we did very well in that game as well. And I appreciate if you subscribe. It will mean the world to me. Thank you. Give me a like and a comment. I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.